How's the dosh? आवाज ही नहीं आई. How's the dosh? बहुत ही ठंडा. How's the dosh? Hi. How's the dosh? Hi. How's the dosh? Hi. Okay, perfect. No, thank you so much for coming today, and we will also, get you to understand as to what you are building. How many of you are from Bombay, or all of you are from Bombay, or you've come from elsewhere? Who's come from not from Bombay? Oh wow, where have you come from? Chennai. You come from Chennai. What about you? Sorry, Ahmedabad. Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh. Wow, super cool. Welcome to Bombay. Great. So today we are just going to have a quick chat to understand how successful entrepreneurs are building in AI. And by the way, Sanil is the co-founder of BharatSure, which is an InsurTech platform. He started his company soon after his graduation from IIM Bangalore. Arjun is the ex-CEO of upGrad, right? He's flown in from Chennai. And Devyani is the founder and CEO of Arrowhead. And, she also started her startup soon after graduation from Boston. So, a lot of them are young entrepreneurs like yourselves, started their journey early on. So, probably, they was the inspiration to all of you so that you can reach, next heights in terms of whatever you're building. If you look at it, the largest of the companies in the world today are started by student entrepreneurs. Can anybody give an example of one such large company started by a student entrepreneur? Newly. Yes. What else? Zepto. What else? Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg. Snapchat. DoorDash. Yes. So if you look at it, the largest of the companies are started in dorm rooms, right? You can also build the next multi-trillion-dollar company out of India. Don't you think so? Yeah. Right? Because you have age as your advantage and you can go crazy, you can go wild and build whatever you want to, right? So such a delight to have all of you here. And this is part of FutureX, which is a platform that Campus Fund has with Google Cloud. Basically, the objective is to bring student entrepreneurship to the fore. And this year's theme for FutureX is AI, right? And that's why they're going to discuss on AI. But before that, I want to thank our lovely hosts, Vikas and Shilpi, for, making this amazing place available for this and being such generous hosts for us. So thank you, Vikas and Shilpi, for, doing this for us. Perfect. So let's start with our rapid fire questions, rather, or interesting questions. It's all these amazing people sitting here. So Devyani, you step into, right? Like she's building, voice bots in the simplest form, if I can say so, right? So Devyani, the question that, is like $1 million question with Claude coming in and everything becoming so easy and things like that. How do you navigate the situation? People think, no, I can also do this. It's just a voice bot, right? So, what's your magic? What's the masala? And, how you're building such amazing voice bots, which, at times trump humans, right? So, what's the magic behind it? And how do you sort of answer all these same questions which get thrown at you every time?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Great to meet all of you. So, to be honest, there are always going to be companies that decide to build things in-house. And that's the reality of it. And I'll give you a very simple example. We work with the largest banks and the NBFCs of fintechs in India and globally. So if you name a bank, NBFC or fintech, we're likely working with that. So we've been working with Paytm for a very long time, right? Paytm is one of the most tech-first fintechs in India today. While we were working with them, they ended up actually building their own in-house voice bot that has now replaced the majority of what their vendors were doing up until now, right? So I don't think you can ever escape the idea of a company building it in-house. And so what I always say is in this day and age, building product has become easier than ever. So what you have to do is you have to target industries and companies where this is likely not going to happen. And hence why, us working with banks and DFCs, which are much more legacy companies, much more archaic, and will likely never have the same level of tech capability as like fintechs or tech startups. For them, it's a great market to target because they will likely never be able to build this in-house, right? So I think it's being very, very intentional about where is your distribution to create that stickiness that avoids replacement by in-house bots. And now more than ever, the question is not, are they going to replace you with another vendor? It's always, are they going to replace you with something in-house? So you have to be really, really careful about navigating that. Yeah.
Great. That's a question I wanted to ask to your point that you mentioned, that it's actually not the vendors, but internal tech team, anything like that. But how do you see Arrowhead sort of evolving from here on, right? Because AI is catching up left, right, and center in everything and anything that they do. So what's like your long-term vision for Arrowhead and how it's going to shape up in the future?
Yeah. So today, up until now, our product has been able to give us the reputation of being one of if not the most human-like voice AI bot in India. And what we have today, it won't hold in 3 months. If we don't innovate over the next 3 months, we will get left behind. So it's really, really important to have embedded in your culture that element of experimentation and agility. And as an example, like Google just launched their Gamma model 3 weeks ago. Within a week, our team had incorporated that model, had fine-tuned on that model and released that for our customers. And that is what enables us to constantly be at the forefront of technology and innovation. So it's not that you're at the forefront today, that you'll be at the forefront in 3 months. So I think from a technology perspective, that's really important, but also because it's easier than ever to build product, what's really important is the way you serve your customers. So we are enterprise first. We have engineers that are dedicated to every company. Like you work with the Fabrillas of the world, the Access Bags, the HDFCs. So we have dedicated customer success and content engineers for every single company because everyone wants to feel like they're the only client that you work with, which is obviously not the case, but they want to feel like that. And you have to meet that feel out.
Great. Distribution and customer experience, I think, are going to be the modes in the future wherein AI is going to do a lot of coding and developing products. So let me just then come to Sanil and then I'll come to you, Arjun. So Sanil, you're building in a boring space. Insurance is supposed to be a boring business, right? So why don't you first tell everybody as to what you're building and how you're actually integrating AI, in terms of distribution, in terms of this customer servicing, so on and so forth, right? So would love to hear from you, right? Because insurance is considered to be boring.
So I heard somewhere that someone said ki yaar, boring businesses are the ones that make a lot of
money. Yeah.
So just because an industry might not be something which would be the most attractive from an outside perspective, that should not stop you from, seeing it as a very lucrative industry to see. In terms of insurance, as Richa rightly said, insurance is a very complex industry, a very high-touch industry because when the event of a case, let's say, hospitalization, there are a lot of touch points involved. I mean, my customer service team would be on call with the hospitals, with the end patients, with the insured persons, etc. And there's a lot of friction happening between to and fro, coordinating with all of these. Now, the good part is that, AI has come along and able to actually optimize on these costs. And because I am a tech-first company, or tech is a big enabler in my company, I'm able to leverage AI to the maximum as much as possible. So for companies, if you look at who are very invested in operations, this is a gold mine for you to look at these companies that, if I'm able to build something over here, there's a lot of touch points involved. If I'm able to build an ASM, I'll not only be able to take care of the operational burden, but also able to, create a very good value proposition in that industry. So they're looking to create a business, look at such industries where there's a lot of friction involved. Those are the industries where, AI a big role.
That's true. And now coming to Arjun, you earlier led upGrad, you've been working with young companies, you're NLP and a couple of funnies. So tell me something. What's your view on AI? Is it like just, the noise around it, or how is going to change the ecosystem? What's your view on it?
So, as you said, I run a consulting business it pays. It up in less. That a lot of consulting projects I do today are AI configurations. Wow, my a big believer. My philosophy is that a small company or a medium-sized company has access to tech bits and technology or engineers thanks to AI. Is only a very large company earlier had access. So I'm a big believer. I think that we are going to see a new breed of companies soon taking over literally every domain of startups. So just to take an example, because we have an issue tech entrepreneur here. I'm working with the entrepreneur uh, in the insurance domain. He launched a travel insurance product a week ago. He just did an MVP launch on it. Day one, it sold 5,000 uh, policies. You know how many people are there in that company? One. The single guy conceptualized, he has figured out partnerships, wrote the entire code, built the distributor, did the marketing, and also. I'm not saying that it's possible with one person, but I'm saying that that's the speed at which, yep. So I'm a big believer, and I don't believe that it will replace or take away jobs. I just think that the North Star rules, hence the way we look at problems, it completely change.
That I completely agree. I think it will push the human brain much more, and I think humans will be able to do much more.
Expectation. Yeah, consumer expectation.
Yes, yes. It help us think. Cognition will increase for all the humans because all the basic stuff will be done by AI. And also just, drawing upon from your upGrad experience, how do you think AI is going to influence the education industry? There's a need in a lot of places, but the education industry has also got some bad apples. It sort of changed the sentiment around the industry, right? So just wanted to understand, as to how, that industry is going to shape up with AI, now coming in. And also, we got that expensive, affordable, and it will become cheaper. What could be the future? So just continue your views here.
So already education is one of the first industry which is getting disrupted with AI. I'm pretty sure that you would have heard about this company called Shake. Yeah, once upon a time it had 7K billion valuation. As of yesterday, it had a value at 150 anything. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So this is the first global example of a company which is going to go out of business soon because of AI. Right. So what I see in the market is that from an edtech, the conversation has now shifted to AI. But interestingly, there is nobody who built the first successful head AI product in India, right? But still, AI is silently disrupting education. And this is happening at the consumer end. I think today, larger than an ed AI specialty use case, what has happened is education has become one of the most common use case that generic AI tools are sorted for. You look at the traffic which a Gemini solves or a Chat GPT solves. This is what it is. Majorly it's students and college goers. So this is definitely happening. Now, since the bar is set, the question will be about what more will a specialized product solve? Will I be able to start recommending like a mentor I never have? Right? Or will I be able to solve a really complex questions, and when I do that solution or get that solution, the AI will tell you that this is not your cup of tea, you should be doing something else. So I think this is going to be a very exciting time for education, but we are yet to see that one company which will listen.
Sure. And since we are on EdTech, I actually have a question for all the three of you, and because we have young entrepreneurs sitting here in the room. Do you think there is value in going to college anymore? Or, are you will it reshape into being something wherein you go to network and make friends rather than going to study? So how the higher education system is going to evolve with AI is the question which I love for all three of you to answer. Devyani, start the key.
Yeah. So, uh, the reason you go to college is much more than just what you learn from a textbook perspective, right? So actually, Jensen Fong said that what he looks for in people that he hires is not people who have high IQ anymore. It's people who have empathy.
Right.
Because as a leader, that's what's going to enable you to build a very large company now, because knowledge is completely democratized. I can access that within a minute and become an expert in every domain. I mean, I was a BCG before building this. In a week, we would become an expert in any industry we were working in, because that's how easy it is to access information. And so I am a very staunch believer that you should still go to college, because that is actually where you learn the most about interpersonal relationships, working with others, and building with other people. That will take you much longer than IQ or knowledge can.
Got it. Arjun. First of all, I don't think anyone goes to college to study. Okay, so that's not really the place where you go to learn subjects. Vikas and I was having this conversation before that. I think the fact that you're learning or imbibing language in the educational institution in some bits, I think it's just a curriculum provided to fool your parents so that you are sent there to learn and not more about life. But I definitely feel that college is an essential part, or education, higher education, private education is an essential part of some ways personality. You learn about thinking, you learn structure and problem solving, a lot more basic things which comes to. And I really don't think when you are deciding to go to college, the age you are at, you know what you want to be. So it is a journey which makes it clear to you, or at least because for me, it was clear to me by the end of it what do I want. So it's a pace of life. It's not really about, I don't really think it's all about by hearting knowledge. Anyway, was anyone?
Yeah. Sanil.
So I think education should evolve. Maybe kids nowadays are so smart. You can see 10, 12-year-old had access to so much information. When I was 10, I had no idea what I was. So maybe we can evolve education in it. But the most important thing that I feel education will still be relevant because of the access of network. That is the number one thing that I still have basis all my education purpose. You will pay your friends with your alumni networks. You will be there. And I don't remember what I studied in college, but I remember that I can reach out to anyone candidate, primarily to the parent. So that is it.
Yes. Agree. More about the networks, like the customer skills, the experience that you had of, being with people, do things together. That they completely. So, this question is specifically called Sarina Devyani because she started so early on in life. I mean, why did you start is the question. Basically, like what gave you the courage, or what was the motivation for you to start? And you could have taken good reputed jobs, so what was the reason? It's not easy. So
this happens to be my second startup. The first I did in a PE. I won't say failure, but a lot of learnings. And when that entrepreneurship bit, we're always passionate about the company. Luckily, I met a few good people, and I said that even though I'm sacrificing a lot of things, but this is something that with the people that I have, I'll be able to comfortably just achieve. And hopefully that is working well for us over the last year. So I say that start something, even if it pays, you pay one way, yeah. But you get so many learnings on in that period to have a much better perspective of whether you want to do something of the future, or whether you want to work towards a page you are a delivery for it. But it is good to see that there are so many entrepreneurs here. I hope that all of you are successful, but if not, that that still be a very good learning piece.
Yeah. So my story was actually like Richa said, I studied at the Wharton Business School, and out of Wharton, everyone goes into either finance or consulting. So that is also what I did, and I ended up working with BCG. And when I joined BCG, to be honest, I thought that my dream was to become a BCG partner, and that would be the rest of my life. ended up having desertions, was sent back to India after being in the US for a while. And I mean, after all of that, I realized that becoming one of 10,000 BCG partners in the world didn't appeal to me as much as building the best company in whatever space I'm trying to work in. At least say when you build a company, every single person who builds a company does it for one of three reasons. It's either fame, power, or money. For me, it was very much being known for building something phenomenal. And I knew that if this didn't work out, like Richa said, we would be just join a very high-paying job within a few months. Like, I think all of you are very smart. Your opportunity cost is actually very low to start a company. And so might as well do it. Take that leap. If it doesn't work out, you have a fallback. But if it works out, that unparalleled success is something you could have probably never imagined.
Good, great. So Arjun, I would come to you and ask you this. What's your view? And also because you now run your consulting practice and, you were there with upGrad in the COVID period as Sikarnat. So, what do you think, starting early on in life or, experienced entrepreneurs, how do you see those two things panning out versus running an organization? upGrad, I would still call it a startup, like in a way, but it's, what's your take on this whole thing here?
Yeah, so I have a little different paper. So yeah, and this comes from my own experience. So I was one of the early employees or one of the founding employers of Buyers. Yeah, right. In fact, and Titu used to work with us. In fact, in that company, when I came in full time, later, usually I was with the founder for a long time, working it as a part time. When I came in full time, I was pretty much the 40% in the top max who has worked in a different topic. Right? So I felt that a lot of things about running a large company, about culture, about governance, about structure. I was the only person who understood the reason why everyone else believed it, move fast and break things. This doesn't make sense. You know now what happens when it will be set. So I think that starting early is a great idea. No question about it. That's when your energy levels are highest. That's when your opportunity cost is the minimum. But as you scale, you should surround yourself with the right. Experience has its own depth. So I'm just trying to collate the answers here.
Definitely. Also, there's this delay which goes on, when it's the topic of AI, that India has missed the bus when it comes to AI, especially when it comes to foundational stuff, right? I mean, yes, there are companies which are trying their server and their script to a certain extent, and like I think if you're now picked at the emergent, yeah, that's a better name to take. So, the question is, what's your view in terms of where India stands from an AI landscape point of view? That's one. And the second question is, for any of these large, LLM, foundational company, India is such a huge market, just give it the sheer data that to provide that, right? Like, all of us are blindly speaking to GPT and Lord, and imagine the kind of data that they're getting from us. What do you think is the importance of sovereignty for India as a country to have its own models and things like that and keep a lot of information and, training to our models rather than, the American one? So we probably start with you, Arjun, and then we go across to Sanil and Devyani. So,
So, first of all, I would think India is the AI bus. Right? When people say that it's pertaining to the foundational part, but AI is not only that, right? And to look at the many layers of the AI, you have the hardware layer, then you have the data layer, then you have the model layer, then you have the training layer, and then you have the application layer. I think India is doing extremely well in the application layers, right? Literally, we are saying that why should we spend so much of running it, doing hardware, doing these foundational models, give free ride orders? What is wrong with it? So I think that's very smart. No question, it's fun. Yes, as you rightly said, we are a data-rich country, and now these foundation models are taking our data for free, trading it. All those problems are. It's like our vote, right? We don't think that it's of any value, so we just give our data puppy. We may, I mean, this may end up being a bad decision, but only future will tell us about it. What I feel is that slowly, the whole landscape of LLMs and AI is also changing. If you are a keen observer, you will see that the Nvidia stocks are going down, right? Fundamentally, the discussion is now moving from an LLM level to an SLM level, which is basic because the people have started asking you to pay for the tokens. So now it's about how do I have run my model on my local device. So slowly the discussion is moving from a GPU system to a CPU. That's a reason why Intel stock is going up like this, right? Intel, AMD, everyone is back in the foray, right? This SLM layer is something I think a country like India will be a great work. So another company which I'm working with is a sellout. They run India's largest network. The founder came to me saying that he's interested in building an SNF using the data of close to 7 million customers who comes to him every month. He's got the data of their skin, hair, scalp. He wants to build out a beauty SNF for the pet. And that Intellidex made. So I think entrepreneurs are coming forward to do these kind of innovation. So I think he'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Is it correct? What about you, Sanil? What do you
I agree. I think we don't have to be coast everywhere. There are so many industries where you've not had a head start at all. There's defense, there's semiconductors, there is space tech, defense tech. You're never there in the picture like 5-10 years ago. Look at us right now. And there's so many companies of CF itself that I see. Amazing work that we guys are doing. So is there certain areas that we are maybe not ahead or not even started? We should not be right. Because I think a good Apple example here is that Apple will never innovate per se, but they will try to copy and make it the perfect version of the product there. So I think if Popeye did also something similar, then we made something perfect for us Indian city.
Sorry, Devyani?
Yeah, so site is similar to what Arch was saying. Basically, there are three types of AI companies you can think of. One is the foundational layer, one is the orchestration layer, one is the app layer. Foundational model companies, I don't think India in the near term is ever going to be able to do a good job of creating that. OpenAI's first round of funding was $100 million. India just doesn't have that level of capital to create that foundational model. Sarban's first round was $20 million, significantly less, right? And so that's why I think we're also taking a lot more time to create models that are at par with what OpenAI and Anthropic have been able to do. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I actually think them using our data to create specific use cases for us is important for us to be able to even advance as a country. Because if they don't do that, they actually have a barrier to using those models for our applications. But I do think in the future, the play with Sarvam is for them to become a sovereign model for India, right? And I believe the government is definitely pushing for that, which is rightfully so. Like how the US pushed for ByteDance to give up TikTok to the US and be owned by the US. I do think in the future, we're going to see the government push for some models to be owned by the Indian government, hosted in India, not be used outside. Until, while we have some leverage. So that I think is what we're going to see in the future. And I don't think it's a bad thing that India will not be able to build it ourselves. We should focus on what we're actually good at.
Got it. So, just adding, or adding on top of what you guys said. So obviously we are now talking about AI and what happens when AI starts becoming phygital. What I mean by that is you have robots and other physical stuff coming into play, which will have AI embedded with it, right? There are companies which are, providing emotion, providing intelligence to the robots. And it has to do with a lot of fields on the edge, AI embedding, and things like that. So the question is, how do you see AI sort of, or in the physical space, coming into India? I mean, we haven't seen any such significant play coming in India yet. Where do you see India, going from that perspective? And also, there are a couple of rewards that China has, Tesla has it picked like that. And people are talking about as to how some of the initial jobs, be it of the housekeeper and things like that, are going to be taken away. But we have this whole huge problem of, a large population. We need to provide jobs to people and things like that. And because of some of the good work that Snabit and Toronto and Nobu are doing, there's dignity to life and there is, job opportunity, be given to such people in a more dignified manner. So what is your view in terms of how physical AI is going to come in India? And are you seeing any early movers? Sanil, you're smiling, so we probably start with you.
I was always impressed with what Elon Musk showed or this Neuralink and Whisk what that they are. Maybe a few years away, but it's inevitable. Like if it's not now, then it will happen sometime like future. So it is a problem, of course, but it has happened in the past as well. There were industry really and computer scaling. You've always figured out what to do to ensure that everyone is employed, everyone has a full sort of work, and things will move, right? It's unique for all the companies who are making profits. They need consumer, right? So that the thing started like there's social program they use was a basic income. There's and this is what Elon Musk says, that we will have more time to appreciate the finer things in life. So maybe we are moving to a vision where a lot of things will be automated for us. Hopefully, we not live in a very desolate world, and we'll have painful experience. But it's still unknown for me, and I'm sure that other people might have some idea though.
Arjun? So I am a big proponent of on the AI getting a mechanical hand.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The reason is I don't really think that's going to displace the kind of jobs a Snap and Panelists start is doing. At this stage, I don't put the economics to the upper. But I get it, yes. But I think it's going to change the industrial landscape of this country in days we can't even imagine. So if you look at just the MSME sector with India, right? The productivity loss due to a erroneous machine, is close to 27%. So imagine if the guy who's running that assembly knew how to fix a machine immediately without doing anything, your productivity is going to increase. You're going to make these smaller companies a lot more competitive because now they can't afford adapt. Right? So I think these are the places where innovation really will change things. Hence, I am very poor. I don't really see AI digital activity the day the Chinese robots coming in or Tesla. I mean the auto taxi or those cover. I don't really see that. I see it as multiple smaller innovation on the shop job. I think that is very exciting. So I'm constantly trying to motivate entrepreneurs with telling them that I don't need guys do something in that direction. There is there's a world out there.
So Devyani, just adding to what the answer that they were giving. Have you thought about putting your voice bots into actual bots that making them speak human like? Have you had some crazy ideas like that?
Right now we're very focused on the one use case of automating call centers, but yeah, that's definitely there's so many uses of what voice AI can do. And I can just adding to that as well, like India has primarily two characteristics. One is that it's very operationally inefficient. And one is that we throw labor at the problem, because labor is cheap, right? So if you're able to solve a problem where you're able to reduce labor in a more cost-efficient manner, that is something that companies tend to lap up. So one of the most incredible things I've seen in China, and China is just so advanced in all of its innovation, is the concept of dark factories. So like it's manufacturing facilities. The reason they're called dark factories is because there are no humans that actually operate that. It's just robots. And so there are no utilities, no lights. And so it's 24/7 dark, right? And India as a manufacturing first sector, that is one of the first spaces I think we'll actually see start to get automation and move towards. Because it will allow us to deliver much more output with much lower cost and much higher efficiency, and what Arjun was saying as well. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of innovation, and India will be able to reflect a lot of what China does because we have very similar sectoral focuses as China as well.
Sorry. So, because we have a lot of young entrepreneurs sitting in the room and, most of them would be trying to build the AI space. So it's become a joke in the VC industry, write something AI and put some jargons like,
You get a funding.
Exactly. So, in this world wherein the whole word like AI is abused left, right, and center, what do you think, are the modes that these young entrepreneurs can create? And, how should they go about fundraising? How should they go about raising their first, capital? Because I think with AI, you can get to a much more significant level before you actually need funding, right? In comparison to in earlier times. So what would be your recommendation and suggestion to these young entrepreneurs, and what, according to you, will catch the eye of, sane VC? I use the word state because people are throwing money on AI. So, Arjun, again, we'll start with you.
So, of all the companies that I have seen funding happen, I am yet to see a VC put money on the company. They always bet on the company, right? So, I would really think that, today having AI in first word helps getting the attention, but finally, an investor bets on the heart. So, my advice may sound dated. I would say that pick up a problem which you are really passionate, because this path of entrepreneurship is going to be hard. You will have, it will take years. We can speak to them. They will tell you. You will feel those days when you are really down. Only if you have the passion to bring you back to motivation, will you be able to do. So I wouldn't really care about anything else. I would say that find that problem you are deeply passionate. Everything else will pop.
So, if you look at like successful startups in the country, there's Paytm, there's Zomato. Tech has always been an enabler for them. The crux of the problem that Zomato solved was that, how do we ensure that the logistics are at pace? BTM, you might see that there's a blunt pacing that, but they have literally millions of merchants were using their platform, and it took effort to, build that merchant base. You look at any company, it's basically a combination of hardcore operations and tech being an enabler. And I think AI will also do the same thing for these folks. So you look at the problem and see, where can you actually drive the biggest impact and ensure that even you're solving the operational problems. And there are plenty of problems to be solved. Indian MSME is a huge ecosystem. There are so many problems. If you apply your mind, you'll be able to, get access to those problems and actually solve it. So I think that AI and tech will just be an enabler. We'll just have to figure out what the right combo is and you'll be able to create an impact. And of course, the VC funding always follows. If they see a good product market fit, I'm sure that if you do bet on by VC, but even there is an interest for it.
Yeah, so what Arjun was saying that, VC's bet on founder, that is very much the case when you're very early, right? So especially when you're pre-product, pre-revenue, the only thing VCs have is who were you, what did you do in the past? In cases where you don't have that, the only way you can raise is by showing traction in your cup, right? So gone are the days of raising pre-revenue and free product, because it's just so easy to build nowadays. So today you do have to be able to show traction and distribution in order to be able to raise. So your moat will never be product going forward. Your moat will always be distribution. So I say like leverage whatever distribution advantage you have today. If your dad has like hospital clinics all over India, leverage that. If you know someone who's worked at logistics companies, leverage that. Leverage whatever upper hand you have over other people because product is no longer an upper hand. And then go to VCs raise because once you actually have customer love, as an example, when we raised our recent round, the VC that invested in us, Stellara Space, said that this was one of the best customer diligences they'd ever done. When you have customer love, nothing beats that because it's very hard to get money out of the big companies. And so that's what I would say is the first thing. Just crack your distribution and then money will follow.
Fantastic. So I think let's open the floor for questions. So why don't you, if you have questions, introduce yourself, tell what you're building, and then shoot your questions. So who wants to go first? Yes.
Hi, I'm Aril.
We keep
And just have a mic coming for you so that it can hear about it. Yeah.
Hi. So before I get into the whole what I'm building, etc., my question really is that one, I noticed there was a dichotomy between what you said about education, Devyani, and what you said, Arjun, that what you go to college for, where that knowledge is democratized now. So is the real part in the execution of that knowledge? That is really where will AI do in that space, or is that something that really stays solely human focused? And that in the area of skill. Maybe I can try to answer that question. So is the question whether what will be the roles played by human and AI, or is the question what is the direction? So knowledge has been democratized, but execution has not. I mean, you being a part of BCG, you would also know that there is some utility for making 500 iterations of the same slides.
Money. I can tell you that.
But the question becomes in that, is the execution the moat that humans would have versus artificial intelligence or hell anymore? I'll try to answer it with the example, a recent example. So the domain which Devyani is working out, right, the voice talk, she's trying to solve a very critical and complex problem of selling through voice box, right? At least the figuration bar, the initial pitch and awareness. But there is this whole call center customer service piece, which is largely getting solved by voice bots, right? So there was a recent article where it said that some of the e-commerce companies are doing 85% of their customer queries answered to voice. The question is, did they reduce on the agents who are answering? No, they did not. Because now the remaining 15% has become the competitive, right? So I think what is your North Star is continuously to do it, right? And because you are in a competitive environment, earlier you may have been optimizing for 100%. Now you are trying to optimize the last 15%. Over time, AI will become smarter and smarter. It will go to last 1%. But still, the fiability for that last 1%. So that's how the consumer will select between a company A to company. But I don't really think our jobs are going to disappear. But thank you.
So what are you building? Where are you from? If you can just introduce yourself.
Right. So I completed my MBA last year from Canada. I'm currently working in investment banking in Kota on the debt side. What I'm essentially building is an idea incubator that's designed like a gamified social media. So we noticed that students have problems, but they don't really have the resources or the structure to execute those problems. So we are essentially giving them a structure. We gamified it so it doesn't feel like a grind. And when they get stuck, they can leverage our network to sort of crowd solve their problems. You're seeing it in Kota. So I've actually put in my papers, but I was working on the site for about 6 months. Got the early traction and only then did I put in my notice.
Great. Next, who wants to ask? Yes.
This is a confusion we're facing in real time. So I figured that it's such a experience panel. I probe when you said distribution is exactly what differentiates you and is what is a signal for of our an ability to raise. It's a little counterintuitive because for us, distribution is something we'd be able to do if we really had the network at our age, right? I think for us, the product that we're building is good, but the reach of that product requires some traction in itself. So it's a bit of like a catch 22 where, you know, to get distribution, you need to have traction, but to get that traction, you need to have a network. And you're right, we have to be scrappy. We have to, use the resources that we have. But at the end of the day, maybe that's not enough to propel us to where we need to be. So, in that sense, how does this issue work at the stage we're in?
By the way, just before she answers, what are you building?
So, we're building an agentic AI that helps communication between clients and projects, clients and agencies for their projects, because we believe that they both speak different languages and a lot of projects suffer from not understanding the intent of the client properly. And it comes down to being able to articulate properly what the client wants and allow that to be personalized to that agency, right? Just throwing text at the boys is long ad, which is where agentic AI comes in. And the reason I'm asking so much about distribution is because we think this is a problem that is faced across so many verticals. But we thought that design is where we have our own network and more to start there. But again, like the pickup is slow. And so we thought of adding software to our services as well. And we're doing that. That's working for us. But again, it's something we're still figuring out. So I could have some help for the expos.
Yeah. So let me tell you how we got our first very, very large customer at a point where I had literally zero network in the BFSI space. So I went to a fintech conference. This fintech conference had about 300, 400 people. And it was a fintech conference on AI, right? So there was this panel of speakers that were basically speaking about how they're using AI to automate various workflows in their bags and NDFCs, etc., right? Similar to how we have here at the end of the panel, there was a Q&A session. So, I raised my hand, I stood up and I said, so my name's Devyani. I'm building voice AI bots for banks and NBFCs. And so my question is that we've been able to drive 40% higher conversion rates to our bot, but people still look at it as a cost center. How do you change the narrative to look at it as a revenue center? They answered my question, etc., right? After in that moment, 300 people in that room knew who I was, knew what we were building, and knew the outcome that we were able to deliver. After that conference, I had like 5, 6 people from various banks and NBFCs come up to me, and we got a POC with one of the largest NBFCs in the country, which was Aditya Birla Capital, that then became our flagship Bustic. So the point is that you don't need to have network to craft distribution. You just need to be able to hustle, and you need to be able to be scrappy. You need to be able to identify where is your ICP and just make sure you get in. The number of bags I've gotten to cold calling is hilarious. Like it's incredible to see how well it works in India. So at the beginning stage, there are lots of ways to do it. Network is not required as a prerequisite to do well.
So, I mean, your PG would be like software agency, right? So, what stops you from getting a list of how you're registering the library or cold calling all of them? And maybe you'll get a reply from at least 100, and out of that 100, you'll 10x the more than the first person.
I just want to reply to that come here.
So?
Yeah, I think a little beyond that stage, because we have, and that's very easy to find the list also using, even if you do it yourself, you can generate quite the list, but they're also just as close-minded about it now than before, right? Because
They got for us that first 30 corporate customers, they're primarily driven to cold call.
Yeah.
We got a list of 500 companies. Out of that, 30 became our time. So it works. There's a playbook around it. You can experiment with it. And if it works, then you'll keep up and you'll have to already track it.
And if you're saying that they're not receptive, the question I would ask is, are you targeting the right ICP with the right product? Because maybe they just don't want what you're building. Or are you not pitching well, that they're not able to identify value? Because like Sanil said, cold calling, 100% works in India. We got many of our largest banks as well through cold calling. So I would just answer one of those two questions.
Harris Day. You know, there are a lot of banks cold calling. You know, we also, when I was delayed, we got HDFC Bank cold calling here. This cold calling for 2 years. The factory cat pulled up there.
Hi guys, I'm Aditya. So my question is especially for Devyani. Like, you're building in the space of AI. Like, how did you define a clear move? Say we're living in a world where AI is becoming commodities. Like, everyone can get a token. There are large language models getting open source and like all sorts of things going on. How do you define your mode? Like, I want to go up towards banks or say GFC. How do we define like as a founder that we should build towards that? Is it like your expertise or like anything which pulls you towards Manix?
Yeah. So if I understand your question, you're saying like, how do you decide the verticalization that you focus on, right? Firstly, it's great that you're looking at verticalizing. I think that's really important for various reasons. You're able to build a much more personalized, deeper product for the customer that delivers much better value. Because obviously, EdTech will be very different from BFSI, which is very different from logistics, etc. And also, it builds a lot of credibility in that space. So because we're known as, you know, one of the best voice AI bots for BFSI, it really catapulted everyone in BFSI, right, to adopt us. So that's great. What I would say to decide that is to understand what is your TAM in these industries. So for us, TAM for voice AI is the largest in BFSI. It's like 50% of voice AI is BFSI. So that was the reason we got into it earlier. And because our early customers were BFSI, that even before we were verticalized in it, that enabled us to build credibility that allowed us to say, okay, this is where you want to verticalize. So number one thing I would look at is distribution. Where do you have a distribution advantage? If you don't have that, then see where the TAM is and see where is the most lucrative industry to have.
Sorry, why don't you tell where you're coming from and what you're building?
So I'm Aditya. I am coming from Bajpai, Andhra Pradesh. So my university is FUBU and I'm from Odisha, a small village. So yeah, I'm building AI, so browser for AI agents. So how we have AI agents controlling everything nowadays, but they're still like not streamlined. Multiple API keys scattered across multiple platforms. I want to boil that down and bring like the core use case, like how would you interact with it? Is to a browser, right? And I want to take existing browsers like say Chrome or Internet and wrap it into a terminal. So your AI is could directly talk with it and like interact with it, fill forms, navigate to all of it. That's the matter.
Got it. Yes.
Just a quick question. You mentioned cold calling. So I was just wondering, is it better to have like a warm somebody introduce you, especially in a B2B scenario?
No, absolutely. So what happens is that when UV warm connects, that is a relationship that you already established in servers. Also that I get to go in my EO plus. But there is also that inner feeling that, you know, let me prove myself with some POC with someone else. And then maybe approach that I'll have better sort of confidence or better sort of the justification that you are approaching someone and already have a track record. Again, the data is flexible. You can oppose is a work correct or people who do not have that level of network penalties.
So actually, it's just because you mentioned that one of the banks that you approached you got by cold calling, and with your personal experience, I noticed that a lot of times it's very difficult, especially, you know, more senior executives, etc., who would possibly be responsible for something like this, and they are not receptible when have the kind of intro. So I was just wondering, is it just
Garrisuri, but is in a very large organization, what happens is that there is a lot of friction in terms of the entire organization being very not very receptive to change. So when they come up with like solutions like yours, they immediately see the value in, especially people in senior leadership, see the value in implementing the solutions as a POC and then seeing merit push. So at least that is what I have observed. What you might add.
Yeah. No, I think your point is very accurate. Warm intros are the best way to get into companies. So how do you manufacture a warm intro in a cold call? So this is like a very tactical thing that we started doing that really helped us. if I'm calling the head of, let's say, an Access Bank, I will say to them, hey, Mr. XXX, I actually got your contact from the head of PL, personal loan vertical at ICICI Bank. Do you have a couple of minutes to chat? I did not get their number from ICICI Bank. But they don't know that. And they're not going to ask me who it's from. But that automatically gives them some credibility to talk to me. So just manufacture, like there's so many tricks that you can use in cold calling. Optimize your times that you call through WhatsApp, don't call through mobile phone. And like call even the like lower downs who can connect you with higher up. So like, timing. Yeah. So with timing, call mornings 9 to 10 a.m. and evenings 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Because in the middle of the day, there are meetings. Don't call on Mondays. Like lots of like things that we kind of optimize. But yeah, like cold calling works very well.
So, just to add to what Devyani was saying, obviously, I read this cold call sales long ago. But I'll tell you, it's a brute force works everywhere. See, when you have to sell, anything works. Some down, but the bit, try whatever to convert a customer. So basically, HDFC Bank became one of our largest customers. And I used to call the board line, the receptionist, every day at a particular point because I knew the head of that vertical will cross the reception at so-and-so time. So I would say, I would speak to so-and-so person, can you connect? So like that, I got that person for the first time on the call in 6 months, right? And then, she had a chat with me. Then she went away for 3 months. And then the second time when I got caught of her, then she called me to her office and they became one of our largest customers. I'm talking about 10 years ago. But that's how we did our first sale to HDFC.
I should encourage all entrepreneurs to have a 2-month internship for UV and see. That will like be moving in the right.
Yes, he's the expert. So, you have to see, I tell this to everybody in the team, like everybody should do sales in their life for whatever it is worth. It teaches you so much. Nothing else can teach you, it's selling is an art. If you look at this, as you grow senior in any organization, you're just doing the sales job. You're not doing anything else for that matter, right? So it's a skill which everybody should learn.
And it hardens you.
Exactly.
You will have people reject you to your face and tell you what a shitty product you bought. So like you need to do this to like, I think I've become much more strong or hardened as an entrepreneur.
Also makes you longer play.
Sorry?
Also makes you
Yeah, absolutely. But I would like to believe that every no skill hurts, just that the recovery time is now minutes rather than a day. But yeah, go ahead. The next question.
Yeah. My name is Abish. I'm working with Arya. Coming back to the distribution question, I actually wanted to know, nowadays the tech market is so saturated with AI powered this, AI powered that, AI native, whatever. How do we as a AI company or selling an AI solution navigate that when we're pitching to someone? How do we navigate this skepticism which everyone has these days, because there's so many products which don't achieve anything, which fail, which are trying to address problems which really aren't problems, like making an issue just for the sake of solving.
Ask yourself, why did you start this company? Like if you have that answer, then you have a pitch for the customer. You started this to solve a problem for the customer, right? So you are clear that there is a problem. And there are multiple other companies who said they will pay, they will solve it. They did not. There you have the answer. Don't be worried about how many people are there, how others are pitching it. Doesn't matter, right? Finally that you have a great one. That's all that purpose.
Impact.
To introduce yourself and your startup, and you're from Bombay, right? Yes.
So, hello guys, my name is Yakir. I am building it here in Native. My app basically connects founders from tier 2 and tier 3 cities who are not able to attend circuit events in the funders who want to invest in those startups. So, in a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 cities, there are a lot of founders that have wonderful ideas, but they cannot present it at big events like this. So I'm trying to build a bridge between these two audiences. So my question was that how do we find our perfect target audience and how do we reach out to them properly? Because my software is directly connecting two audiences. So my job is to just build the bridge. So how do we connect?
Usually that's
So actually, it's a very tough problem to solve, right? I mean, and it's also, like startups and VCs are like tied to the hip, but they're also not tied to the hip, right? And tier 3 cities, they are gradually warming up. But again, distribution is the key. You have to first let everybody build trust on your platform that there are quality VCs on one side and quality, startups on the other side. Probably don't start with VCs to begin with. In that tier 2 city, create a platform where you have the high net worth individuals of those cities who want to encourage entrepreneurs in that particular space. Because I tell you, there's insane well, even in the smallest of the town of this country, right? And everybody wants to sort of, give out checks to young entrepreneurs to support. So start with regional stuff, and if your platform starts getting trust, then scale it to a national level and see how VCs would want to come onto it. And quality startups are coming on it. But, start with regions, build confidence there, build trust there, and then, take it ahead from there would be my view. Arjun, how would you think about it?
I mean, what my view is, investors have a lot of time to go everywhere. So, so you need to understand who are you building this for, first of all. I think what she said is a very relevant input there, because your platform could be built to create more investors. There are a lot of people, HNIs today, who don't know where to put the money. A platform like this can create an emergence in cities which is typically not mold for investors. So I think that's a brilliant idea. You should work on. Thank you.
And my other question was that how do we gain knowledge in the field that we are working in? So suppose I'm working in this field. So how do I gain knowledge? Do I sit at home and research, or do I actually go out and talk to the people who have these problems?
So, it is completely up to you. All my knowledge which I gain these days are by asking AI. You ask Claude, ask Gemini, that's where you will get the first cut. But yeah, you should speak to people. I think you should have the right ecosystem around you, right mentors, right people in the ecosystem who will be able to give you the right advice that cannot be replaced. So I would suggest build a network who can help you.
Thank you. Hi. So, my name is Alpesh. I have two questions for all of you. Before that, I'm building CyberEmpower, which is an hiring platform for specializing in cybersecurity. So, every recruitment agency faces two problems. One of them is sourcing, the other is interviews. We have already automated that with AI, but the main problem that we are facing right now is converting candidates to our platform, then getting them on an interview. So we are trying to automate that with AI agents, but the problem we are facing is, especially in India, because India people are not that aware of AI-based voice calling. They are not able to get what the AI voice agent is trying to get them onto a platform, and there's just a gap of not understanding what the AI is trying to help you with. So how can we solve that?
Yeah. So honestly, I have so many questions to understand like where the gaps are and pain points are. Like, are you cold calling these candidates?
Yeah, we source them automatically. We have inbuilt AI-based sourcing agents. We cold message them on LinkedIn, then get them phone numbers or call, and then we try to call them or cold call them. Yeah.
So they've already gotten a message on it.
Yeah.
And then you're cold calling them and you're saying once you cold call them, they don't understand what the purpose of the call is.
No, they are not able to
convert to a normal candidate to a candidate on our platform. So they don't trust. The trust value is not there on a AI based call. So whenever I call them personally, they always sign up. They always get onto our platform. But when an AI does that, they 90% of the time they don't. As this is for Indian audience. But whenever we are serving US based, 90% of the time they do. So
How
where's
many
the problem?
candidates are you targeting to be on your platform?
Yeah, come again.
How many candidates are you targeting to be on your platform?
It depends on per sales. We already have a few thousand candidates on our platform. So when a company wants to get a candidate in cybersecurity from us, we go through the candidates first. If we don't have them, we source the right talent for that, whatever their lease is. So it's like 40% or 30% of the time we have to source.
So I would say one of two things. Number one, if you're able to create a human-like bot that does this, then they don't know that they're talking to an AI. That's the purpose of like investing a lot in very good bots. Like what we do is we try to create in calls where customers don't know they're talking to a bot. Then you don't even have that issue, right? Because then they don't know then the trust factor is there. The other aspect is that you're actually candid with that on a LinkedIn message, right? And you say, hey, this is the purpose of this call. We're just trying to understand more about your background. So you'll be getting an AI call to just understand that. And then you'll get on board of this platform where this and this will happen. And then you'll be able to achieve this, right? If your struggle is that they know it's an AI bot and hence they're not asking questions, either you be transferred with them in the beginning or you try and make a non-AI bite. And these are the two things I can think of. Because you're still early, I would even say you should be doing all the calls. Like you hire a team of 10 people and you guys just do calls to get your initial batch. You don't need to get AI calls in the beginning. But yeah, these are the three ways I think about.
I mean, are you trying to force-fit AI calling over?
No, we are not trying to force AI, but we are just like since we are going fast, the amount of requisitions happening on our platform is increasing. So the team is quite limited.
Why not use a Google form instead of?
Google form is not interactive enough for candidates to convert to convert onto a platform. It just feels like it's a traditional job hiring thing. And since we're operating in cybersecurity, people are not ready to be out their data. They really care about their data in service. So the second question is, me and the CEO of the company have to interact with a lot of CISOs, the high level security persons who, as a 20-year-old, who they don't really care about what we are doing, but they know they need this. So how to get that? How to get their attention in place to get their seats?
Yeah. So I mean, I was in my mid-20s when selling this, right? I don't think today age is not actually a barrier to selling is what I found. You have to come across as someone who they can trust that you will be able to build a product that will not disrupt their security or their bag for the next 10 years. And that comes from just like a level of knowledge about the product, a level of maturity in the way that you talk and communicate to them, etc. So I think as long as you develop that, they won't have the barrier to talk to you because you're young. It's just that information security is like the topmost priority in every single bank. If that gets messed up, RBI will close your back down. So they have to be able to trust you. And as long as you know your stuff and you come across that way, I don't think that
Arjun should have a better perspective. They should,